Welcome to the Middle Ground. I'm your host, Ohio Divided. Here we dive into all things sports. Ohio State, Michigan, the Bengals, the Browns, the Reds, college football, the NFL, college hoops, Major League Baseball. And hey, we might even dip into a little NBA when things get spicy. If it's happening in the sports world, we're talking about it right here on the Middle Ground. Before we get rolling, make sure you please like, subscribe, follow, retweet, do all the things that help this show grow. We appreciate each and every one of you. Now, let's get to the show. Welcome in, everybody. It is January 1st, 2026. Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully everybody had a fun night out with family and friends and everything. Hopefully everybody was safe, was able to make their way home safely last night, and just enjoyed themselves. New Year ahead. Yeah. But other than that, let's just get into this. And right away, we got one in the chat. Perry's Buck saying, fire Ryan Day. Game plan wasn't great. They were not prepared. They got out-physicaled. They got out-coached. They got outplayed. But I don't think anybody's sitting here saying Ryan Day needs fired. Adjustments just need made down in the future. But aside from that, before I really get into this, I don't want to make this all about Miami and everything. Obviously, this is an Ohio-focused, Ohio State, whatever the topic is that we come on here and talk about, focus show. Want to give credit to Miami. Like I said, they outplayed, outcoached, out-physicaled, outdid everything that mattered when it came to winning a football game for 60 minutes and 0 seconds last night. That physicality was different. Did I overlook it? Yes. Did everybody within Buckeye Nation overlook it? Yes. Each and every one of us overlooked that. We didn't expect anything like that to end up the way that it did. But yeah, I mean, you have to give credit where credit's due. I'm sorry. I'm reading OSU Cincy Sports' comment. Never had any real competition until after Indiana lost and last night's loss. Yeah, I think that is very evident right now. Their regular season schedule was very, very poor. I'm going to get into it a little bit later, but yeah, I think that there is definitely something to be said that the competition that they played up until last night has been horrible and has led to a lot of what we saw the last two games. I think that is very valid. And one area in particular, the offensive line, I think that everybody can agree with that. But back to Miami, I mean, they deserve all the credit in the world. They executed at a high rate. They played a mean, physical, violent football game. They outcoached Ohio State. They did everything better than Ohio State. So props to them. They deserve it. Obviously, I did my trolling this past week, like I'm always going to do. It's just part of X. It's part of the chatter leading up to a game and everything. A lot of Ohio State fans did some chatter. Miami fans did some chatter as well, but they stood on their business, and they have it right to pop off right now and comment back and say whatever that is that they want to say. So I'm all ears. Come for me. But at the same time, I did acknowledge the strong parts of your team that I saw giving Ohio State issues going in, and that was the defensive line. It was the offensive line. I had my questions about if this turns into a track meet, can Miami keep up? I think that was obvious that if it was turned into a track meet, I don't know if Miami could have, but Miami did not allow that to happen. The other side of it is I question Carson Beck. Carson Beck stepped up. He didn't have to do much, but he stepped up and did just enough. He did enough in order for Miami to win. So props to them. Hurricane fans, take your victory laps. You guys deserve it. OC Cincy Sports led with the comment, have never had any real competition until after Indiana lost and last night's loss, except for Texas. Yeah, like I said, I want to get into this a little bit later, but I said from the jump at the beginning of the year, very first game, I took literally nothing away from that Texas game other than you just have to win that one. You knew that that Ohio State was going to come in with a very vanilla, like kind of a game plan to not expose Julian Sand a whole lot in his first game against, at the time, being the number one team in the country. I didn't take a whole lot from that game. I think that a team over the course of a season is much different in Game 12 than they are in Game 1. I mean, shoot, just ask Notre Dame. Like, if they were to be judged off of Game 1 compared to Game 12, they were two completely different teams, two completely different defenses at that time of the year. So, for me, the Texas game was always just win it. I'm not going to take anything much more away from that. I don't think that anything that they did that day, especially offensively, really played into who they were going to be as they went further into the season. Obviously, I think that there's an argument to be made there that in the Texas game they played slow and methodical, and the rest of the year they kind of played slow and methodical. But the rest of the year you saw them taking a lot more shots downfield. You saw them launching the ball 50, 60 yards downfield to Jeremiah and Carnell and things like that. They didn't do that a whole lot against Texas. I know Carnell had the long touchdown, but other than that, the play calling and just the whole entire offense was pretty close to the vest. Like, don't put Julian in a situation to turn the ball over. Don't shatter his confidence. That was kind of the goals, I think, going into that Texas game. And that's why I really don't take a whole lot away from it. I don't think that you can really judge anything until like Indiana on. But like I said, I have a tweet that is out there actually from Mr. Red Day. Good Reds fan on the Twitter app that he had put out that I kind of want to break down a little bit. So before we get into this, really I just want to walk through the game and then kind of get into some key thoughts, key points and of that nature that I had. So to start off the game, both teams 3 and out right away. Like Ohio State on the defensive side, that very good opening drive for Ohio State. Miami starts with the ball. Carson Beck looks rattled right off the get-go, exactly how you wanted it to go. Bad pass to Fletcher right over the middle, and then he got him scrambling on the third down and probably 7 or 8. Got him scrambling a little bit. He tried to throw it back across his body and basically threw it straight into the turf. Probably a ball the wide receiver could have caught, but the defense came out, got a 3 and out, made Beck start to kind of get the jitters or kind of feel them a little bit. So perfect 3 and out for the defense. Right after that, Ohio State comes out. 3 and out of their own. And right away, you saw what this Miami pass rush was going to do to Ohio State's offensive line. Right away, you saw it. So from there, Ohio State punts back to Miami. Miami goes on that 13-play, 83-yard drive, which scored the first touchdown to make it 7-0. And I think their offensive drive before that, actually, the one that Ohio State got the fumble, I started to worry a little bit because they were moving the ball. They were able to run the ball. They hit on some decent passes. Beck looked like he wasn't going to completely shit down his leg at that point in the game. And then they followed up with the very next drive, going on 13 plays, 83 yards, touchdown. And the first thought at this point in the game, I was kind of starting to get a little worried because Miami's entire plan was to make this a rock fight. And that's exactly what they did. And that's exactly what they did not the first drive, but the next 2. They moved the ball. They ran the ball effectively. They kind of just sat on the ball and walked it up and down the field, and Ohio State didn't have much answers. They would a lot of times get them into third downs. But like I'm big on, you got to get into third and manageable downs, and that's what Miami did. They were able to run the ball effectively to get themselves into 3rd and 3 situations, short, manageable third downs, and they executed. They continued to move the chains, and they put 7 on the board. At that time, it gave me a lot of the 2023 Michigan vibes. That game just screamed to me like, all right, hey, turn around, hand it off, there's 3 yards. Up, there's 4 yards. All right, 3rd and 3 up, they got 4 yards, first down. There, next play up, they got 4 more yards. Up, they got 5. All right, now it's 3rd and 1. All right. Like, they just kind of had this slow, methodical offense that they're just not going to take any negative plays. They're not going to get penalized for anything stupid, and they're not going to turn the ball over. They can kind of dribble it out, like dribble their way up the field. They can kind of walk their way up the field. And I was like, if they get any kind of lead here, it's going to be hard to score on this defense regardless. Now, did Ohio State need to score more than 14 points? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, if you get down against a team like that, the pass rush then starts to set in, and they can continue to just walk it up and down the field if you cannot stop it. So 7-0 Miami. I'm starting to get some flashbacks and PTSD from 2023 Michigan at that point in time. So right after it was 7-0, third drive for Ohio State. Very first play, over the top, 60 yards to Jeremiah Smith. And it's like, boom. All right, here we go. Tie it up. Let's get this game going. Very next play, I posted a picture of it. I should have put it in the little loop video picture thing that I have on screen here just so you guys have something to look at. Max Clare was streaking right down the middle of the field, wide open in the end zone. And on the picture that I posted on X, go look for it if you want to go find it. Max Clare is running wide open down the middle of the field, right in the end zone. And Julian Sand's sitting there staring at him. I don't know what he's looking at. I don't know why he didn't throw it. But in that situation, I can't remember if he took a sack, threw it away, whatever it might be. But a massive missed opportunity there from Julian Sand. That was 7 points you left on the board right there. And then guess what happened the very next play? You try to throw a bubble screen out to the flat. Jeremiah Smith, horrible effort on a block. Lets Scott of Miami just blow right past him and takes it to the house the other way. 14-0 in the blink of an eye. Miami is dominating. 2 of their 3 drives, they moved the ball on Ohio State very methodically, very efficiently, very simple. One ended in a fumble, one ended in a touchdown, and you just threw a pick six. It's 14-0, and it is a disaster. And at this point, I haven't even mentioned Miami's pass rush yet, which was feasting at this point in time of the game. OSU Cincy Sports, can you talk about how piss poor our kicking game is? Yeah, it's horrible. Jaden Fielding is no longer going to be the kicker, and I'm excited for that. I don't know why they let him kick, but at the same time, it was not the difference in the game. So, whatever. They got to figure that out going forward. So, from there, 14-0, pick six. Next drive after that, Ohio State comes out, punts again, and there was one crucial play, 2nd and 10. And I'm going to get into a little bit of a take or a rant here in a little bit. But 2nd and 10, you're living in 2nd and long once again, and you punt. I can't remember what Miami did. They probably punted it back to Ohio State. And 5th drive of the game. Ohio State's offense is doing absolutely nothing at this point. Another punt. So through 5 drives, Miami has, and this is probably with 4 or 5 minutes left to go in the second half, Miami has completely dominated up until this point. Miami has shown that they are elite in the trenches. All the talk that we got so sick and tired of hearing all week, we're becoming true right in front of our eyes. They were able to get after Julian Sand. They were able to make Ohio State live in 2nd and 3rd and long. They were able to exploit the weaknesses on Ohio State's defense. They were able to run the ball. They were able to execute on 3rd down when they needed to. And another point that nobody's really talking about, their special teams was elite last night. Elite. Anytime Miami did need to punt it back to Ohio State wasn't getting good field position. They were backed up inside their own 10, inside their own 15 a couple different times. And when you can't run the ball like Ohio State could, and they were getting after you in the passing game, that's a bad, bad, bad recipe. So at this point in the game, through 5 drives, Ohio State had 9 first down opportunities. And my take is, whenever you are talking about like an offense and just their ability to score and put up points and things like that, first down execution is the most important thing. I know people are always like, well, 3rd down's the money down. That's how you that's how you sustain drives. That's how you move the chains. On a defensive side, that's how you get off the field. Absolutely. 3rd down is second. But you know how you make 3rd down much easier to convert? being effective on first down. So you're not living in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. It's more like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. So if you're not executing at a high rate on first down, a pass rush like Miami's is going to just tee off. I've used this narrative with baseball a couple times. It's like if it's a 2-0 count and you're facing Shohei Ohtani and you throw him a fastball, he's going to murder that thing 500 fucking feet. It's the same thing against an elite pass rush like Miami had. Being in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 is like seeing a 2-0 fastball to a really good hitter. They are teeing off. There is not a much that you can do when they know there is zero threat of a run and there is zero threat of a screen. So if you are constantly living in 3rd and long, you're in for a bad day at the office. So through the first 5 drives of the game, Ohio State had 9 first down opportunities. Only 4 of them did they get to 2nd or 3rd and manageable. And when I call manageable, I think I call it like 2nd and 6 or less. So less than half of their first downs, or over half of their first downs, they went into 2nd down, 2nd and long. And that's when the pass rush comes in. And to this point, that Miami defensive line was just cooking. Ohio State had zero answers up front. And a lot of it had to do with they didn't have to worry about anything else. I've talked about this time and time again. Ohio State is not a team. They aren't Miami. They aren't a team that's built like Michigan has been built in the past. On 1st and 10, when you know they're going to run it, they're not going to go out there and just get 4 yards because they're physical and they're just an elite running team. Ohio State's not elite. On first down, they're the type of team that you need to kind of keep it 50-50. You need to put it in the air. You need to run it. You need to get play action. You need to do whatever it is that you need to do. But you need to mix it up on first down. I didn't go as far to look at what the play calling was like on first down. But either way, I'm blaming this on first down execution. Through the first 5 drives of the game, you put up 0 points and minimal yards. Basically, outside of a 60-yard bomb to Jeremiah Smith, you did nothing through five drives. So after that, I think Ohio State got Miami to punt, and this was whenever they got the ball with just a couple minutes left before halftime. And they started to go tempo. They started to go a little bit quicker. It wasn't this slow, methodical, huddle up, take the entire play clock type of offense. And you started to see them move the ball. They started to execute on first down. They were living in 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3. You completely take the pass rush out of it at that point in time. So for that 6th drive before halftime, they had 5 first down opportunities, and 4 of them, 4 of the 5, they were in 2nd and 3rd and manageable. They were able to instantly move the ball. They threw in some tempo, and they were executing on first down. So going into halftime at this point, that's when Jaden Fielding comes in, like, get a kicker. Get a damn kicker. It is not that hard. It's for me to sit here and say it's not that hard. It is very hard. Don't get me wrong. I could not go out there and kick like a lot of these guys can. But you are a high major college football team, and I see schools like Ball State banging home 50-plus yarders. Just scroll through Dylan DG, Ohio State DG, on Twitter's feed. He's posting every single video out there in college football of like these nobody schools that have kickers that are banging home 50-plus yarders. Go get a guy. Now, it wasn't the difference in the game. Jaden Fielding does not deserve to get heckled or any shit talk from any Ohio State fans. That's low life. You don't do that type of shit. They're still kids. They're still people at the end of the day. But in terms of the success of a football team, you got to get something different there. I know Fielding's gone, but you can't take that type of that product just the last couple years. You can't have any more of that. To be able to kick 50-plus yarders shouldn't be like a 1% chance at Ohio State. You should have one of the better kickers in America, and you should be able to to feel like that you can kick and not have to be left-handed and make the kicks that you should make. So at this point, it's halftime. Miami's up 14-0. They did everything they wanted. They've been able to move the ball. They've been able to get the pass rush. They've gotten Ohio State off schedule plenty of times, and they are cooking. The one thing that I hated in the first half was Ohio State's run scheme. I don't know why they were trying to run zone and stretch. Like zone and stretch, and I'm not deeming myself an offensive line whisperer or even remotely know what the hell I'm talking about, but like stretch is a type of play where you feel good about your one-on-one matchup with the dude across from you. There was one headline this entire past week going into this game, and it was that Miami was elite in the trenches, in particular the D-line. So to run plays like stretch where you're kind of going more horizontal, east and west, relying on one-on-one matchups to break through, it's not going to work. You need pulling guards. You need pulling tackles. You need to run power. Plays that are getting big dudes moving downfield north and south. And they went into the second half and they started to do it. And they scored their first two drives, especially that first drive right out of half. You started to see the pulling guards, the pulling linemen. You started to see the run plays start to bust. You started to see them not live in second and third and long anymore. I hated the run scheme from the jump. It was just, I don't know. I don't get it. Ryan Day has had stretch as part of his offense for basically all 7 or 8 years that he's been in Columbus, and I wish he would have left that shit out 5 years ago, a long time ago. But anyways, it got much better in the second half. So as we get into the second half here, drive 7. That was the drive that they went, touchdown drive, made it 14-7. As you get into, I think Miami at that point, I was thinking, get a 3 and out. And this is where they came in, and they again dribbled it up the court, sat on the ball, moved the chains, efficient, not taking any negative plays, not doing anything stupid, not putting the ball in harm's way at any point. Actually, I should take that back. They did put the ball in harm's way a few times. They had the fumble, and then Tony got his shit rocked a couple times and just fortunately had the ball just bounce right up to him. Not an excuse. It's just sometimes that's the way the ball bounces. But if those balls bounce the other way, who knows what happens. But I'm not sitting here saying that that's why they lost. Ohio State lost because they just got smacked in the mouth and they were not the better team yesterday. But again, Miami does kind of the same thing that they've done all day. Goes down, kicks a field goal, makes it 17-7. Drive 8. Ohio State goes on another really long drive. Scores. That was the one that they hit Jeremiah on the 4th and 2 across the middle and scored from probably about 15 to 20 yards out. So at this point, 17-14. You've had 2 drives in the second half. Your first 2 drives, 2 for 2. 2 touchdowns. And on those 2 drives, you had 9 first downs again across 2 drives. You had 9 first downs in the first half through 5 drives. And on 6 of the 9 first down opportunities did they get the second or third and manageable. And I think even one of those, they got to like 2nd and 7, and I didn't count it because I only counted basically anything like 2nd and 6 or below. So it honestly could have even potentially been a little bit higher than that. Whatever it was, 60 to 70% of the time they were executing on first down to make themselves not be behind the chains, not put themselves in long 2nd and 3rd down opportunities to allow Ruben Bain and Mesidor to tee off. So then Miami gets the ball back. I'm just going to pull it up play by play because this is really where it kind of everything starts to come down to it. Ohio State makes it 17-14. Let's see here. Yep. Touchdown Ohio State, 17-14. You've got the entire quarter left. 13 minutes and 28 seconds are left. Miami comes out. Incompletion on first down. 1 yard run. Or negative 1 yard run. So then you're sitting at 3rd and 11. And Carson Beck makes a play downfield and runs for an 11-yard gain. And what felt like not a backbreaker, but it was like a damn. If you could have just gotten a 3 and out at that point, you have all the momentum in the world. Carson Beck steps up, makes a massive 3rd down conversion on 3rd and 11. Now there's 12 and a half minutes left. First down, 1 yard run. 2nd and 9, 3-yard pass. So you got 3rd and 6 now with about 10 minutes left in the quarter, and you get off the field, incompletion. At this point in time, you're still feeling pretty good if you're Ohio State. 17-14, you're getting the ball back with about 10 minutes left. Let's go down at bare minimum, get a field goal, and let's respond. We have the momentum. Ohio State gets the ball back. 10 minutes left on their own 25. 12-yard pack to Will Kazmarek out in the flat. Ran for it downfield. 1st and 10, 4-yard run. 2nd and 6. Sand takes a 9-yard sack. I thought Sand did not play well yesterday. He did not play very well. Held on to the ball a little too long. I thought there were a few times where he was feeling pressure, and he's got to have a quicker and better internal clock where if he's sitting there, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, whatever it might be, like knowing that their pass rush is kind of teeing off at this point, there were times where I think that he could have thrown the ball away and not taken a 10-yard sack that really screwed them later on in the drive. Anyways, Julian Sand, 2nd and 6, takes a 9-yard sack. 3rd and 15. Julian Sand, 16-yard pass. Massive pass over the middle to Jeremiah Smith to execute and get a first down. So now you have the ball at about midfield, 1st and 10. Incompletion. 2nd and 10. Holding. Say what you want about the holding call. This was the one on Daniels that Bain was coming off the middle. Look, not a very good call. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and blame the refs for anything. Ohio State didn't perform good enough to win the game. But if you don't have that holding call, who knows what could happen. So then you get into 2nd and 20. And 2nd and 20, you throw a ball out to the flat to C.J. Donaldson, and look at where you're at, 3rd and 22. And you are cooked at that point against this defense. So from there on 4th down, you get a 53-yard punt from your punter. A phenomenal punt. Pins Miami down at the 10-yard line. Like that, they got to go 90 yards now to drive the entire field in order to get a touchdown. Illegal formation on a punt. I don't know anything about punting. I don't know anything about punting formations. How do you get an illegal formation on a punt? 5-yard penalty backs it up. That 53-yard punt turns into a 39-yard punt, and you give them 14 yards, almost 2 first downs. And instead of starting at the 10, they're starting at like the 30, which is a massive difference, especially when you're a team. I'm sorry. Off the OSU Cincy Sports, off the Stranger Things. Enjoy your day. Hey, have a good one, OSU Cincy Sports. Happy New Year. Watch some football today if you can. I'm sure that's probably why you're watching Stranger Things right now. Anyways, back to the punt. Difference of basically 15, 20 yards. You handed them basically 2 first downs, and this was literally the beginning of the end. Miami gets the ball with 5 minutes and 50 seconds left, and they go on a 10-play, 70-yard, dagger-in-the-heart touchdown drive. Very first play after the debacle of a penalty on the flag. 20-yard run from Mark Fletcher, and that's when you're like, yep, that might be all she wrote. You're going to have to get 3 and out right now or get them down in the next 3 downs if you want to have any kind of shot. After that, here we go. What Miami did all game, walking it up and down the field, dink and dunk and run the ball. 4-yard run, 2nd and 6, 3-yard run, 3rd and 3, 5-yard pass. And I think that was the one 3 minutes and 40 seconds left, 3rd and 3. You got to get off the field. Somebody's got to have it. And Carson Beck. Everybody's doubted him. Not very good. If you can make this game fall on Carson Beck's shoulders, he will give you the ball, and he will screw up for Miami. Carson Beck steps up, executes on 3rd down, move the chains. So then 3 minutes left. 13-yard run for Miami. Gets the ball all the way down to Ohio State's 26, and at this point in time, 2 minutes and 13 seconds left, you have to think it's over. 1st and 10 with 2:13 left, Miami, 1-yard run. And why Ryan Day did not use a timeout there when it was 2nd and 13, 1-yard run. You had 2nd and 9 with probably about 2:08 left to play. Use a timeout there. That was horrible clock management. I had no idea what Ryan Day was doing there. You get it 2nd and 9, use a timeout. Potentially you get to 3rd and 5, whatever it might be. I don't know. And then you go into the 2-minute warning then. But no, you let it run all those 10 seconds, 8 seconds, whatever it might be, all the way down to the 2-minute warning. And then from there, they come out, bust a 5-yard run, and it's 3rd and 4, and Carson Beck. Tip your hat to the kid. Stepped up when he needed to. Didn't play great. Or I don't want to say that. Probably saying that a little wrong. He did play great, but he didn't do anything special. He didn't kill you by any means, but he stepped up when he needed to. Completes a 13-yard pass, and now Miami's got the ball inside the 10, and they score 2 plays later, 24-14. Miami wins. So that's a little bit of a recap just from a drive-by-drive standpoint. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just some kind of key thoughts that I have going into here. I think my guy Ron James on X said all of Ryan Day's losses smell the same. That is the absolute truth. If you look at just his last 3 losses, Miami this year, Indiana, you go back to last year, Michigan, it's always a team that is just bigger and better than you in the trenches. It always comes down to trench play with Ryan Day. And for whatever reason, he gets into these rock fights. And I didn't necessarily think that the play calling was bad yesterday, especially after those first 5 drives when, like I said, they kind of started executing on 1st down. I thought that they threw the ball downfield plenty. I thought that I didn't mind like the plays that were actually called. I just could not stand the tempo in which they went. Like to sit there and huddle up and let the clock tick all the way down to just a couple seconds left before you snap the ball each time, especially in the second half when you come out down 2 scores and you're still doing this slow, methodical drive. Like you only had 2 drives in the entire second half. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. 3 drives. You had 4 total, but the interception at the end, that one didn't. The game was already over. But you had 3 drives in the second half where your 2 touchdown drives took up 11 minutes and 17 seconds of time. That's almost an entire quarter. When you're down 2 scores against a team that just wants to walk the ball up and down the field, dribble it out, let the clock just tick, 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 tick. You can't sit there and play at a slow snail's pace like they have this entire year. This whole year, we've been led to believe this offense has another gear. And I heard a lot of talk about it, but never once did I see it on field. All year you heard, oh, we got another gear. Oh, we're going to kick it into another gear. Even call it ignorance. Ohio State fans were ignorant after that Indiana loss. A lot of these holes that showed up last night showed up in the Indiana game too. Probably a little bit of fault to last year because we saw a lot of holes heading into the postseason. We were asking a lot of questions last year as we went into the postseason, and all those questions got answered, and we kind of just assumed the same thing would happen this year. Well, what we didn't realize is this is a different team led by a different group of guys, And there's some coaching changes here that you need to kind of take in consideration too. So to sit here with this narrative the entire year that, hey, we're playing chess, not checkers. We're going at this slow, methodical pace because at the end of the day, our guys are gonna play a lot less snaps. We're gonna play, at the end of the day, a few less games than some of these other teams that play at a really, really, really high rate when you look at the snap counts and things like that. But you never got to that second gear. Ryan Day's offense never got to that second gear. And when I complain about the offensive game plan, it's not the plays that were called. It was the tempo at which they went. When you have an elite, when you're going against an elite defensive line and they have the advantage, and you thought maybe going in that you could match them physically, well, clearly you couldn't. And you go into the second half where clearly you knew you couldn't match them physically on the defensive line. Why you sit there and still go slow and methodical is just dumb. At that point, that's whenever you turn up the tempo. Like, we got Jeremiah Smith. We got Carnell Tate. We got playmakers. Let's bump up this. Let's hit that second gear finally. Let's go some tempo, and let's start to move. Let's get these defensive linemen running around. Let's get them tired. Let's wear them down. No, you sit there every single play, and you give them 25 to 30-second rest every single play, so then whenever it does come down late and it's too late, too little, too late, they're still able to tee off in the end. I didn't understand the offensive game plan at all. I didn't want complacent Ryan Day, and that's what we got. And I'm going to say it again. It wasn't the plays that he called that really kind of irked me. It was more so the pace of what they went. And to hear the talk all year that, like, we're just playing chess, not checkers right now. Kind of like this, we're just better than everybody else. We'll turn it on when we need to. That's bullshit. If you can do it, you would show it earlier in the year. The part that I don't understand is I think they can do it. Like, you have Julian Sand. You have the two receivers. You have good backs. I don't know why. I have no idea why you don't play with a little bit more pace. They came out flat right from the jump. They sleptwalked through the first, basically through the entire first half. And Miami came out and ultimately was throwing haymakers right away from the get-go. Ohio State got down way too much, and they could never catch up at the end of the day. Miami's execution on third down, I talked about it as we went through kind of the drive-by-drive breakdown, was a huge part of this, and Carson Beck deserves all the credit in the world. I think there were probably 4 or 5 times on third down he either pulled it and ran it, made a huge throw to move the chains on a big third down when Miami absolutely had to have it. And Carson Beck played an A-plus game for what Miami needed him to do. He didn't light up the stat sheet by any means. He didn't kill Ohio State. But exactly what he needed to do was execute in big situations, move the chains, and keep Miami on the field. And he deserves all the credit in the world. Other than that, kind of just some last thoughts. And I do have a few tweets on here that I want to post as well and kind of talk through what these guys were tweeting and kind of just give my opinion around them. But on a final note, Miami's defense is elite. That's an elite group with a lot of NFL talent over there. I saw it. I watched 3 games. I could see how much they flew around. I could see how well they tackled. But their safeties at Miami, they deserve, I don't know, some kind of award. If Miami gives out awards, it needs to go to that group. I don't know how many times I saw number 8 step up when our running back was getting to the second level where there's a potential that they could break a really long run, and they're flying downhill and stopping them for only 6 or 7. That is huge. You allow a running back to get to the second level, and the difference of him breaking off a 6 or 7 yard run compared to a 15 to 20 is massive. I don't know how many times I saw them come flying downhill and make huge critical tackles and just consistently throughout the game. Going forward, what is there to be excited about for Ohio State? Well, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about. They're still probably going to be one of the top teams next year. You have Julian Sand. You have Jeremiah Smith. I hope he comes back. I'm not going to really get a whole lot into it now. I mentioned it on X the other day that if Ohio State loses, he came out and said that he would have gone to Miami if they were worth a shit. Well, now they're worth a shit. And the guy he came to Ohio State for, Brian Hartline, is also gone. He won a national championship here. Does he leave? I hope not. I don't know. I don't know what the percentages are. I'm going to probably call it 60-40 in terms of him staying or him leaving. I don't know how much he values having a Heisman finalist quarterback come back. I don't know how much he values wanting to go get another win against Michigan, because obviously he very much so loves that piece of being at Ohio State, and he loves that rivalry. I don't know how much he values basically rewriting the entire record book from a wide receiver standpoint that has seen guys like Chris Carter, San Antonio Holmes, JSN, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., like all these elite names that you always hear of throughout the years. Like, maybe that he values that. Just basically having Jeremiah Smith owning every single record and a historically rich wide receiver college. I don't know. But that's going to be something that's going to get very loud over the course of the next couple of months, Ohio State fans. I brought it up the other day when he went out and made the comment that he would have gone to Miami, and I got killed for it. I got killed. Why would I say that? He's not leaving. Miami fans are blasting it everywhere, guys. It's going to be a topic of conversation. It's going to be something that's going to be annoying over the course of the next couple months, and I think that is priority number one going into next year. You got to keep Jeremiah Smith in Columbus. You got to keep him in Columbus. You have to keep your best player, the best player you maybe have ever had, on your team next year. Other than that, Julian Sand's back. Bo Jackson, I think there's a lot to be excited about him. Devin Sanchez played very well last night. True freshman, made some plays, had very good coverage last night for the most part. And, yeah, I thought he played fantastic. Speaking of which, one other point I wanted to make. I talked about Miami executing a lot in third down. One thing I didn't like about the defense, and I forgot to mention this earlier, is why the corners were constantly standing like 8 yards off the ball. Like their heels are kind of like around the sticks. Miami was not going to beat you vertically the entire night. And if they did, you tip your hat to them. You give them their 40-yard explosive play, you tackle them, and you say, good job. Now can you do it again? I thought they were way too passive, way too soft in their coverage, and just giving Miami's receivers like 8-yard cushions on the corner. And there were so many times that I was with a bunch of guys watching this game. Like every single time we're sitting there pointing like, that dude's 8 yards off. He's open right now. And there, what do you know? They're hitting somebody in the flat because we're playing soft-ass coverage, too much of a cushion on the edge. And me bringing up Devin Sanchez, I just remember, I mean, it wasn't just him. It was all of the corners that played. But I noticed Devin Sanchez like a couple times, and I mean, that's like a Matt Patricia thing. Like, your alignment needs to be better. And I think there was even a couple times where late in the game, but you waited around a little too long. They started to go into press corner and get up on the line of scrimmage and start to get their hands on these guys right at the snap of the ball. And it was just too late. I think they got a couple stops by doing it, but just a very questionable decision that I did not understand. Make Carson Beck beat you downfield. Make their playmakers beat your corners. Your corners, you have good corners. You can run with teams. I didn't get it, but whatever. I think the defense, when you talk about problems last night, they were probably more towards the bottom of the list than the top. So just a final thought. I've got 4 tweets here that before I wrap things up, I kind of want to go over or talk about before I get out of here. So this one comes from @BoBishop. Give him a follow on X. Good follow. He said he was talking about issues with Ohio State. He said, number 1, no tables. Clearly. This has been the approach all year. And all year we kept thinking they had another gear to hit with this football Ferrari, and they just never shifted into it. Maybe the gear didn't exist. We'll never know, but would have liked to see them try it. I got into this earlier. Exactly. If you're going to sit here and try to act like you're just smarter than everybody else all year and that you have this extra gear that you can hit, you're going slow and methodical for a reason this entire season, and it's because when it comes time to really let it all fly in the playoffs, like last night was, you were going to do it. But you got to the point last night, you could have done it, you could have did it, and you decided not to. If you're not going to do it down 14-0, I don't know if it existed at that point in time. I don't know if it existed. Now, could it exist? Fucking hell yeah, it could exist. You have Julian Sand. You have Carnell Tate. You have Jeremiah Smith. Yes, you have a different gear that you can hit. Yes, you can play at a faster pace. Yes, you can do these things that you hinted at all year. But when it came down to it, Ryan Day stuck with his slow, methodical, complacent game plan. He didn't play with urgency. Like I said, there are 2 touchdown drives in the second half, which, by the way, never even got them to even tie the game. They were still down after each of the 2 drives that they scored. Took 11 minutes and 17 seconds. 11 minutes and 17 seconds. When you're down 2 scores against that defense, against that rushing attack, against that team that what they wanted to do was dribble it up the court and they wanted to sit on the ball. What did you do? You went slow and you went complacent. It's kind of a narrative, or it's kind of a correlation with basketball. If you're going to go in and play a team, if you're smaller than another team and the other team has a presence inside where they have bigs that are really hard to stop and they're physical down low, and you don't have many answers for them down low. When you go up and down the court when you have the ball on offense, you're not going to sit there and walk it up the court and give those big guys time to get back and save their breath and not make them tired. Hell no. You are getting the ball to a guard and you are running up and down the court, making those bigs run up and down with you. And that's kind of the same approach Ohio State needed to take when they were absolutely getting destroyed in the trenches last night, and they didn't do it. Now, what kind of correlation, or you ask, how fast do you want them to go? In terms of a speed limit, if 55 is a speed limit, I'd like to see him go like 65. I'm not sitting here be completely dumb, like just play after play after play after play. Like there's got to be some kind of quality over quantity type of value, but you kind of have to marry the two together. You don't want to be going 75 into 55 because that's whenever you get reckless. But last night, especially against a team who owned you in the trenches and they were better than you in the trenches, you needed to be going about 65 into 55. And they didn't do it. We talked about this next gear. They talked about this next level that they were going to hit all year long. And when it came down to it, we're left to question, did it even exist? And I know Ryan Day had the whole Michigan Connor Stalions sign stealing thing that has kind of haunted him the past few years. Maybe he was worried about going tempo because that meant signaling plays back in, and he saw his signals being stolen in the past. I don't know. Maybe Connor Stalions is in his head. I really have no idea. I don't know. I don't get it. Agree with Bo Bishop 100% here. On to his next tweet. I've got 4 of them total. Excuse me. I've been sick for the past week and a half, and I just can't seem to kick it. Just keeps lingering a little bit. All right, Bo Bishop. His next tweet. Ohio State has an offensive line problem when talent equates. To end the season with 2 losses that saw you just flat out pushed around up front is sobering stuff. Absolutely. If you want to talk about another staple of just Ryan Day's teams whenever they lose, and I'm not here to sit here and shit on Ryan Day by any means. I think Ryan Day is one of the best coaches in college football, especially in an age where it's really hard to find a good guy. I love Ryan Day. I think he is the best man for the job. He typically maneuvers the ever-changing world of college football very, 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 very well. But if you look at something that's been consistent with all 12 of his losses, or probably a good majority of them, it's because the offensive line has not been good enough. They cannot match up when talent equates. And in this sense, the talent on the other side that Miami had was better. Outside of that 2019 year where J.K. Dobbins rushed for 2,000 yards, I can't really say that Ohio State's ever had that great of offensive line play, especially when they started to play somebody worth a shit. So I don't know what that looks like going forward. I mean, turn on the tape. Look what Miami did. I mean, they got some big dudes out there at tackle, a lot bigger than what Ohio State had. I don't know. I'm not an offensive line guru, but this hit home. Your offensive line has been a problem anytime you play somebody who is as good as you. And kind of what I talked about earlier, Ohio State fans just being ignorant from last year of we saw offensive line problems late in the year last year. They got them fixed. And with a lot of that was the pace that they played and the plays that they called. They didn't play at that pace that would have helped the offensive line and helped tire out Miami's defensive line. They allowed Miami's defensive line to stay fresh, and they lived in way too many second and third and longs, like I talked about during the game, drive-by-drive breakdown. And, yeah, that's where you saw it. But at the end of the day, a consistent problem of Ohio State under Ryan Day has been offensive line. Something they have to fix. I don't know how they fix it, but the guys in charge need to find a way to do it. This next one comes from College Football Nerds. Some of the stuff I like of theirs that I see on X, obviously, I think that they are very analytically driven on many things, and I like analytics, but I'm kind of 50-50 with it. It's not end-all be-all to me. I think that you can kind of use analytics to form a narrative or to back up a claim that you might have, but I don't think it is end-all be-all. I think at the end of the day, you still need to sit down and watch players play, watch teams play, and that's going to tell you just as much as what analytics do. But anyways, I thought this take was fantastic. College Football Nerd said, "We tried to tell y'all all year that Ohio State was severely reliant on slow, efficiency-based offense, and it could bite them. All of Ohio State's scoring drives and the missed field goals were 10-plus plays. It's just way too hard to avoid negative plays versus elite defenders to sustain that." Absolutely. Could not have said it better myself. When you're going on 2 10-play drives that equate to 11 minutes and 17 seconds, basically almost an entire quarter off the clock when you're down 14-0, you're never going to catch back up. You're never going to catch back up. And, yeah, I mean, this is nothing but the truth of exactly what they posted here. And, yeah, not a whole lot to say about that. Ohio State talked about that second gear, like I've said numerous times on this live. They've talked about that second gear this entire season, hinted at it. Even after the Indiana game, it was kind of we got it coming. It's whatever. That Big Ten championship didn't mean anything, yada, blah, 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 blah. None of that matters anymore. It did mean something, and you played like shit in it. And your same issues that came in that game came up again. And you still played slow. You had a second gear that I'm going to say you never have, or you just refuse to use it. Lastly, before we get on out of here, Mr. Red Day on Twitter. Mr. Red Day is a very good friend, very good Reds fan. He hates Ohio State. Don't blame him for it. Ohio State fans can be annoying. I definitely post a lot of things out there about Ohio State too. Completely understand why people don't like Ohio State. Ohio State's a brand where you either love them or you hate them. The take from Scott Van Pelt that they're everybody's Super Bowl, they're everybody's biggest game. They're the Duke of college football is 100% correct. But I am also going to sit here and admit to stuff whenever it is correct. And what my good friend Mr. Red Day said here, and by the way, if you're a Reds fan or just a Cincinnati sports fan at all, go follow Mr. Red Day. He's kind of the same vibe as me, likes to troll a lot, still likes to make some pretty good takes and things like that. But great dude, great follow. Really fun to follow if you're a Reds fan. So give him a follow. But anyways, he said this season, Ohio State versus good defenses. 14 points versus Texas. 13 points versus Indiana. 14 points versus Miami. All other ass teams averaging 39 points per game. This team had fraud written all over it. Yeah, that is hard to argue right now. I mean, I said at the beginning of the broadcast I didn't take a whole lot away from that Texas game because my thought process the entire time going into that one was you have a freshman quarterback making his first ever start against the number one team in the country. You have a ton of holes that you are filling, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So the only thing that I was looking for in week one was a win. And I predicted that Ohio State was going to come out with a very tight to the chest, training wheels game plan to kind of protect Julian in that first game. Not get his confidence rattled where he comes out and throws multiple interceptions and you're kind of working an uphill battle the rest of the year to try to get him confidence as you go on for the rest of the year. So I always took very little away from that Texas game. The defense played fantastic. The offense did really next to nothing outside of throwing a 40-yard bomb down the field to Carnell Tate. But outside of that, it was honestly a little bit like how Miami played last night. It was stay ahead of the chains, don't have any negative plays, don't turn the ball over. And that's what they did against Texas. And when you look at a team from game 1 to game 12, most times teams are completely different than what they were at the beginning of the year. So I didn't take a whole lot from that one. But the next two, absolutely. 13 points against Indiana. And it was the same things that we saw that Miami gave issues last night. And we as Ohio State fans were ignorant about it. We sat there and blew it off. We saw Indiana's defensive line give our offensive line issues, and we laughed it off. We said they'll get it fixed. We said they had another gear that they were always going to hit. None of that was true. There was evidence out there, as my good friend Mr. Red Day says, that this team had fraud written all over it. Yeah, I think that's hard to argue, when you after you watch them in the Indiana game. But last year ruined it for all of us Ohio State fans. Absolutely ruined it. We had a ton of questions as we went into the game last year, or as we went into the playoffs last year. We had offensive line questions. All of those questions last year got answered. And I think the overwhelming opinion of Ohio State fans, and I agree 1,000% with it, was that this team is more talented than what last year's team was. This team was better than what last year's team was. But this team didn't have the leadership and maybe the guys in the locker room. I think the guys that's not a knock on the current guys. I think the guys that are currently in the locker room today are very talented, are not talented, are great leaders. So I don't know. There was ignorance by Ohio State fans to think that a lot of these things that did show up, especially in that Indiana game, were just magically going to take care of themselves, and they showed up again. All of the ways that Indiana used to beat Ohio State were Miami's strengths, and myself included did nothing but laugh it off. We all did. So going forward, that is something that we cannot do again, no matter what we've seen. Ryan Day had me convinced. I'm still all in on Ryan Day, don't get me wrong. But he got to the point for me where I'm not questioning anything he does. I'm not questioning anything that he does because I trust him. If he thinks that this is the way that we should be doing something and this is what's going to get us to a national championship, I trust him. And where I really gained that trust was last year, obviously, in the playoff run. His back was against the wall. Everybody in the world doubted him. He rattled off 4 straight wins. and got the locker room collectively back together. And I was kind of like, hell yeah, Ryan Day is the dude. And then even more so, week 1 against the number 1 team in the country, a team that you beat in the semifinal. They come to your place. You went out and you got to win. After that game, I was 100% on Ryan Day. Whatever he decides, I trust. I just have full trust in this guy and believing that Michigan 2024 losing 13-10 taught him a lesson. Well, last night went to prove it did not. There still are some things with Ryan Day. You're going to have issues. And it's going to happen with every coach. Every coach has things that they don't like, or every fan base has things that they don't like about their head coach. Absolutely love Ryan Day. I don't want anybody else in the entire United States of America to be Ohio State's head coach other than Ryan Day. He is an awesome leader on the field, off the field, very active in the community, says all of the right things. Even last night, after the disastrous game that was last night, he took everything on the chin and took full responsibility for not having his guys ready to go, and that's what a leader does. In today's college football, you have NIL. You have the transfer portal. You have all of those things that make college football today compared to what it was 5 years ago entirely different. And he's done nothing but navigate that perfectly every step of the way. So, yeah, last night sucked. Last night completely sucked. Before I get on out of here, it was a fun year. I mean, you go 12-0, finally beat Michigan again for the first time. If you told me that we'd be sitting here on January 1st knocked out, being like, what the hell just happened the day of the Michigan game, I would say there is zero chance that's happening. The day of the Michigan game, I was completely sold. Going 13-0, winning the Big Ten, we're better than Indiana, which I still think Ohio State is better than Indiana, but you can't prove it. Indiana won on the field. At the end of the day, they were the better team. You get into the playoff, and you faced a team that was better than you in the trenches. It was talked about the entire week and a half leading up to it. We all laughed it off, and that showed to be the difference. Miami Hurricane fans, congratulations. You guys deserved it. You guys completely out-physicaled, out-coached, and outplayed Ohio State last night. And you guys keep rolling. Go win it. I don't really give a shit who wins it at this point. I hate every other team that's in the playoff. I just don't want it to be an SEC team at the end of the day. So, Miami fans, go win it. The U is back. The U is back. So, enjoy it while you can. You guys will probably have a pretty good one against Georgia coming up if I had to guess, but I also guessed Ohio State would be there, so you don't know what the hell is going to happen. And teams that have byes are now currently 0-5 in the new college football playoff format. So, going forward, I don't know what myself, Metal, Norm, I'm probably going to try to get some more guests here on the show. I don't know what we're going to talk about going forward. Ohio State basketball, I jokingly tweeted, at least we have Ohio State basketball. Probably going to hear some content on that. You'll probably hear some stuff on Ohio State, whether that be transfer portal, whether that be, I don't know, all the college football shit's happening every day. So as stuff happens, we're going to be talking about it. Might dip into some NBA stuff, maybe some Cavs. But yeah, I mean, I kind of want this show to not just be like a solely all we talk about is Ohio State every single day, every single week. I am a massive sports fan of multiple teams. I watch a lot of football, a lot of basketball, a lot of baseball. So I want to talk about those things as well. So stick with us. I don't know what we really have in store, but I'm going to continue to basically talk about current events when it comes to sports. So the next step for me is to kind of tune into Ohio State basketball and really college basketball across the board. So I may try to have a show in the next couple weeks with maybe somebody that really has been watching college basketball and kind of studying what's been happening up until this point. For those of you who love college basketball too and have kind of been like me that have been 1 foot in, 1 foot out, kind of observing what's been happening. But yeah, we're going to continue to keep content coming to you guys. Whatever the current events in the sports world might be. We're big basketball, we're big baseball fans over here, and we're going to continue to talk about football as we get into the offseason and maybe have some Browns and Bengals content as we get closer to the draft. So thank each and every one of you for tuning in. We got nearly 700 viewers in here already today, so this is probably going to be a pretty big episode. So the support and the growth of this show has been absolutely insane. I cannot thank you guys enough. We had our first 10,000 viewer episode a couple weeks ago when all the Sharon Moore stuff came out. I think I had a 7,000 view show with Cam Underwood of the State of the U on Saturday when we broke down kind of just this entire matchup. And we've had a couple 2,000, 3,000 view shows that we were not getting a couple months ago. So thank you all for tuning in. Your guys' support, if you guys could please leave a 5-star review. If you guys could please subscribe to the Twitter channel. If you guys could please follow us on X at Buckeye Natty Ohio Divided. Greatly appreciate it. This is kind of starting to turn into a little bit of a thing for us. Started as a joke, not only the podcast, but kind of Ohio Divided in and of itself. So it's really kind of starting to turn into something here. So I enjoy doing it. And if there's anybody out there that ever wants to come on the show, if they ever have any questions, anything that they would like to ever discuss, shoot me a DM. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe we'll have you on the show if there's anything that's on your mind or just something that you want to talk through or get our opinion on something. Let us know. Other than that, it's a tough day in Buckeye country, but we'll be back. We always rebound. We always find a way to get back. We always find a way to make it right again. Today's a tough day, but champions get back up, and that's what Ohio State's going to do. Enjoy your New Year's Day. Watch some football. You got a good one at noon between Oregon and Texas Tech. You got the Rose Bowl at 4 o'clock. Hopefully there's not going to be any rain between Indiana and Alabama. And then the nightcap, who I thought I was going to be sitting here watching to see who Ohio State plays, but no longer need to care about it. Georgia Ole Miss. Thank you all for tuning in. Like I said, if you could please like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review.